49 group of white Afrikaners have arrived at the Dallas International Airport in Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C. Let's just listen in to Samnat Sande.
Das är nog svårt.
If you're just joining us, we're looking at the very first pictures of that group of 49 white Afrikaners who left Johannesburg OR Tambo International Airport headed for Washington. They've arrived now in the last hour, and as you can see, the process to resettle them as refugees in the United States now well underway. The first sign of them embracing what will be their new homes are these American flags that have now been given. We're seeing quite a few what appear to be couples with young children who've also made the journey. They are the first people to benefit from an executive order that Donald Trump, the US president, issued on the 7th of February this year. He said the first issue that he was dealing with was around purpose. He claimed that there was a shocking disregard of the rights of white Afrikaner citizens in the country. We know that today has again been rebutted by the International Relations Minister, Ronald Lamola, speaking in Pretoria, as well as President Cyril Ramaphosa speaking at the African CEOs Forum in Abidjan earlier today. But Donald Trump, Bongiwe, still not swayed by the explanations from the South African government that there is no wholesale confiscation of Afrikaner-owned land, nor are they being persecuted or the victims of a white genocide.
Welcome to the United States of America. It is such an honor for us to receive you here today. This is the land of the free, and we know that all of you have faced... I'm Chris Landau. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm the Deputy Secretary of State of the United States. This is my friend Troy Edgar.
Yeah, I'm the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. And again, welcome. So great to have you guys here.
I know you've gone through a long flight. I cannot believe there are babies and children who are actually so well behaved. This is much better than mine are. So bless you for that. And you know, I think it makes me so happy to see you with our flag in your hands, and that flag symbolizes liberty for so many of us. Many of us, our families, have had a journey not that different from the journey that you are embarking on today. My own father was born in Europe and had to leave his country when Hitler came in the 1930s, and made his way to South America first and then eventually to the United States. So he is an immigrant who actually, you know, was able to benefit from the many blessings of this country. And one of the reasons that I really wanted to go and work for the government is because I wanted to give back to this country that really brought freedom to my family and allowed us to escape a very difficult situation in another country. So, you know, I know that this is going to be, you know, any adjustment in life, any change takes a while to get used to. But I want you all to know that you are really welcome here, and that we respect what you have had to deal with these last few years. We respect the long tradition of your people and what you have accomplished over the years. And I am sure that you will be successful. It's, as you know, a lot of you, I think, are farmers, right? When you have quality seeds, you can put them in foreign soil and they will blossom, they will bloom. And we are excited to welcome you here to our country, where we think you will bloom, and we will hopefully allow you to have fulfilling lives for your children, and then we will bloom and we will benefit alongside you. So thank you very much for coming here.
Yeah. I'd like to add, again, on behalf of President Trump, Secretary Noem, we're just so grateful that you guys are here. Everybody within DHS, we've been so excited to be able to get you guys here to process, to vet, everything, so you guys get a really warm start. After all I was tracking your flight, 12 hours that you were last night. I'm like, oh my God. So thank you for just the patience of being able to get here. Very similar to Chris, as our Secretary Landau, is that my wife came from Iran. Same thing, persecution from Christianity. And she's come here. She now speaks 5 languages. She's a school teacher. She's a great American story, and we're so grateful. I think Chris and I both just wanted to come and make sure that we greet you guys, we meet you, give our contact information to you, and if there's anything that we could do, we just want to welcome you personally. We look forward to, after this, to be able to spend a little bit of time with you and get to talk to you guys. So thank you guys.
I think and I hope and I trust that you will find that the American people have very open hearts, that we are a very receptive, we're a very friendly, welcoming people. And, today is the first day of your American.
We're not too sure what's going on with these pictures out of the airport just outside Washington, but we're going to stay just a while longer because we've just been witnessing the official welcome given to 49 white Afrikaners, South Africans, who are now refugees in the United States, being welcomed by the Deputy Secretary of State, that's Chris Landau, as well as the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security, Troy Edgar, saying really it's a warm welcome. He describes South Africa, not South Africa rather, but the United States as a country of liberty, referencing their flag, and the two men, one sharing that his wife is of Iranian descent, who's now become a great American, and they're hoping that these 49 white Afrikaners will basically, as they resettle in the U.S., become prosperous. Reference made, by the way, to a farming history. I'm not sure how many of the 49 have a background in farming, but that was mentioned in the welcome.
And it's interesting, Tebegile, when you listen to the Deputy Secretary of State and the Deputy Secretary of the Deputy Homeland Secretary, they talk about the fact that, agriculture, and this is interesting because when we spoke earlier on to Professor Landau, he was actually saying that some of these areas that they are expected to go to, right, Minnesota, Idaho, Alabama, as well as Texas, are in fact agricultural communities. So it's as you listen to the two Deputy Secretaries of State, they're saying that they, number one, the Deputy Secretary of Homeland saying that they are going to be benefiting from them and looking forward to speaking to them continuously, and saying that now they're going to live very successful and prosperous lives, and saying that his wife is now a full U.S. citizen and is able to...
Speaks 5 languages, I think you were saying.
Of course, exactly. And it's interesting because Tembegile, as he says this, his colleague there, the Deputy Secretary of State, saying with adjustments and change comes some getting used to.
And we'll see how much adjusting they will have to do beyond having left South Africa. As things stand, you'll recall the likes of AfriForum and Solidarity, who were taken the blame, in fact, for spreading what was described as disinformation and misinformation about the treatment of the white South African Afrikaner community, had said, I remember Kylie Creel in that briefing said, they would not leave. What they had wanted was not a refugee program, but rather a targeted, if you will, approach by the American government of sanctions, possibly targeted at ANC leaders, including President Cyril Ramaphosa. Then last week we learned that, in fact, the two organizations had even met with the ANC.
And of course, so we understand that there's going to be a press briefing, and we'll see then, because everything, as we heard from Nick Harper, is run by the State Department. And it's interesting to hear that Nick says this is not the usual occurrence when they see, individuals who are acquiring refugee status, then getting this kind of welcome to the United States. And they are being, of course, thanked for their patience there, Tembegile, and the officials there also saying that they're looking forward to engaging with them, and will exchange numbers, and hopefully we'll then see what happens there. And it's interesting, all of this is taking place as South Africa has confirmed that they'll be meeting the US government next week. So it'll be interesting to see how these actually feed into each other.
And President Cyril Ramaphosa again today addressing questions about this refugee program, so-called refugee program, saying that he, in a phone call with the US President Donald Trump, told him that there was no truth to claims of a white genocide in South Africa or the confiscation of white-owned land. Ramaphosa saying he told Trump that those were claims made by fringe groups who were opposed to basically diversity in South Africa and transformation. And in fact, it ties in with the question that we've been asking you this evening for your thoughts on the move by these 49 Afrikaners who are now in Washington, D.C.
All right, let's take a look at some of your comments. In fact, we'll do that a little later on. But when
Just
we
fixing
take
my
you
ear,
back,
apologies.
and when we take you back, right, to this moment, Tembegile, you touched on it a little earlier on. It all dates back to that executive order that was signed by US President Donald Trump. And he says that in Section 2, that is a policy. He says it's the policy of the United States that as long as South Africa continues these unjust and immoral practices that harm our nation, that's according to US President Donald Trump, the US shall not provide aid or assistance to South Africa. The United States shall promote the resettlement of the Afrikaner refugees escaping government-sponsored race-based discrimination, including racially discriminatory property confiscation.